Good day, lovely people. Dr. Caroline Carpenter here. And my husband, Trent, watched the other two videos. And he told me twice, hey, you haven't said a thing about me yet. And I said, well, babe, I can't really speak for you, but I can speak about my experience with you and your choices. So I'm going to share the shit we went through to get where we are now. One of the most difficult things and most powerful things anyone can do is heal a relationship while in the relationship. In my opinion, we were about as bad as anyone could get. And I share this to be hope for people, to give people hope who are like, I want to heal this, but I don't know what to do other than to just leave. Now, that's the example that I was given and he was given his whole life, is to just leave when it doesn't work. The only problem with that is wherever you go, there you are. So, new person, same old shit. So both of us decided, okay, to avoid finding the shit we don't want in our current relationship and marriage, let's just heal this while we're in it. And if we decide to go our separate ways once we do, fine. So that is the hard agreement we came to. Now I'm going to go over a few of the things that are really fucking difficult to deal with when in it. And in retrospect, I'm so glad we went through. And while in it, it seemed life-ending. He was an alcoholic his whole life. And I didn't know that because I drank a lot. And I drank a lot because I was avoiding the pain of feeling like I'd be abandoned by anyone and everyone. It's how I numbed the pain in my body. And I also overspent, overshopped, under-earned. Really just distracted myself from ever doing my deep inner work, even though I wanted a different life. So he distracted himself with alcohol as well, and by creating chaos in relationships. Me too. Here's how I pretend. Okay, so in effect, version of me would say, wow, he was an alcoholic. He didn't do his work. He participated in all the things that he knew better than. Here's how I participated. I stayed. I kept playing the game from a place of, oh, maybe he'll change. Oh, maybe he'll get better. Maybe I can convince him to do this for us. I was coming from a place of, maybe I can change him. Maybe I can help heal him instead of just fucking healing myself. So that's the trap I fell into, and this is the trap a lot of women fall into, because somewhere along the lines, there's this version of go find a project who needs healing and heal him, and then expect him to be different than how he showed up in the relationship. That's where I went wrong. I expected him to change from how he originally showed up in the relationship. And yes, he's a lovely man, and he tried, and he tried, and he tried, and he overcame. So really all I can do is tell you from my perspective what I saw when I was in effect versus when I moved into cause. He'll have to make his own YouTube video for me. So what this looked like when the chaos continued to happen and didn't make sense from him, right? He was connected with some people who were just chaos and drama, and they thrived on it. You know those people, the ones who just, they're fueled by cortisol and crazy and chaos and drama, and if it doesn't exist, they'll create it. That's what he was holding into his life. And at that time, the version of me was like, oh, that's fine, bring him along, we can all heal. Versus taking a hard look at what is. Now, this is where words, sure, action is the end all be all. What I was doing was baffled. Here's how I was in effect. I was baffled that his actions weren't lining up with his words. Now, he will take full accountability now, but I was just waiting on his actions to line up with his words. This is me clearly being in effect, hoping he will show up different than what he's choosing to show up as. This is free human will, and we all have it. And now, and that's one high point. Now, I fully allow him to show up the way he wants to, and I show up the way I want to. And we both love how each other's showing up. Now, there was a lot of communication in the middle. And the other high points are, there was a lot of verbal abuse, a lot of emotional abuse, and we both took part. Here's what I mean. He had what's called intermittent explosive disorder and PTSD, complex PTSD. He went through a lot of abuse as a child and went into the military to prove everyone wrong. And in the military, you're taught to compartmentalize, right? So not only did he grow up in an abusive environment, a mentally and physically and emotionally abusive environment, he went into the military to shove it down and went to combat twice, went to Iraq twice. So he was married to the same woman twice, went through a lot of emotional trauma with her and her 2 children that he adopted. Now, I hope this is okay, and if it's not, I'll have to edit this video later. But he gave me full permission. So, lots of relational trauma that he had. The relational trauma I had was my mom died when I was 5. From what I understood, she chose to die because of her ethics versus living to be with me. She had a 96% chance of living a normal life and chose the opposite. Now, what does that say to a child? I'm not worth it. I'm not lovable. I'm scum of the earth. So that's what I was operating on at the unconscious level without realizing it. He was operating under no one stays and I have to be alone to be safe. And I was operating under no one loves me. I'm not good enough for anyone to hang around, not even my mother. I'm not good enough. So moving forward, he and I got together. Of course we have the same trauma. His mother also died. His real father also did not take any responsibility for him. That's what happened with me. And his stepdad was, put him through the ringer, as did mine when I was little. We both rode horses. So the parallels were crazy, okay? And when we met, there was this electric attraction. Y'all, this is trauma attraction, which usually precedes a beautiful pairing. Now, when we talk about twin flames, soulmates, he's it. I had known for a very long time that someone existed who was doing dumb shit, that if they just stopped doing it, we could be together. I went through relationship after relationship after relationship after date after date after date, and no one really scratched that itch until him. And we had the same fucking trauma. So, you can't tell me we don't sign contracts on the other side to clear this crap up with each other. Because I couldn't have made someone with closer trauma than myself. So here's what happened. Intermittent explosive disorder. Emotions would well up in him. He would explode and say terrible things to me that weren't true, yell and scream, and then feel like shit after, okay? This is exactly the household I grew up in. Living with my aunt and her husband and my cousin, who was disabled, hated life, angry, stayed knocked out on narcotics all day. He would explode and scream and yell and threaten to kill everyone every night. Felt the same to me in my body. So anyway, the moral of the story is everything I got away from in my childhood showed back up in the relationship of my dreams, right? Now, at first, it's like, what the hell happened? This is not what I signed up for. Oh, yes, it was. Yes, it was. I had to see all the shit I'd never healed from, that I ran from, face to face from the man I love. That's how it works. That's the agreement in relationships. We see all the shit we don't want to see in ourselves or can't see in ourselves in the other person. At this point, when I realized this, going through the training that I have of changing the unconscious programming and healing, that relationships are mirrors, this is where I said to myself, okay, I can choose to heal this, or I can choose to run. And if I run, I'm going to find all of this elsewhere. I don't want to fucking do that. I'm just going to heal it now, because if I do that for myself and I allow him to show up how he's going to show up while setting my own boundaries and sticking to them, we have the best chance to make it. So that's what I did. And it wasn't that simple. It looked a little different every time. And here's the short version. I quit asking for what I wanted and needed. He knew. I had voiced it plenty of times. There had been plenty of communication. He didn't like to communicate. He didn't feel safe around women. I felt like I had to fix any man. So I felt like I needed to fix. He didn't feel safe. That ain't gonna work out. I had to allow him to show up the way he's gonna frickin' show up and trust that he's capable. He is very capable. Very fucking capable. And he is. And so am I. So I didn't realize I'd been coming from the place of he isn't capable. I have to do this for him. I have to help him. He is so capable. And he has moved mountains for himself. So what ended up happening, he went to rehab for 6 months. He was gone for 7 months total in Florida. He came back and we were good for like a week. And then the fighting started again. And he went back to Florida to do some work so that we could each do our own healing. And he came back, and within about a week or two, we started fighting again. So the problem was, the home was not a safe place for him, for sure. And I had to shut down. So he was irritated. I was shutting down. We were living on opposite sides of the house. And a lot more happened. But out of about 2 years, we were apart for 12 months. Because we could not exist around each other without, this is from my perception, right? Now he has his own filters, but I can't make a video for him. So babe, you're gonna have to make your own. I triggered anger, the need to be right, and power over, and profane masculine in him just by being around. Now, not consciously, not at a conscious level. This is at a very unconscious level. And yes, astrology plays into this. What we're carrying cellularly plays into this. Spiritual contracts play into this. Filters play into this. What we're willing to heal or not heal plays into this. What we're willing to see or not see plays into this. So this may sound like an oversimplification. It is much more complicated than what it sounds right now. So there was a lot. Projection, mirrors, what does this have to do with me? What role am I playing? Finally, it got to the place where I decided I will no longer play the role of the person who triggers this man. I love him dearly. He loves me dearly. If this is the role that I will play, not by my choice, but by his, I'm not going to do it anymore. And there was a time he left and didn't tell me where he was going in the middle of nowhere where I did not have access to him. We were even going through fertility treatment at one point, and like the ultimate betrayal from my perspective happened to me. But what happened is he hit his shit hard about all of his fear about having children and what that would mean, because y'all, children are little unconscious projections until 7. So imagine all that unhealed trauma that he's holding below the surface being erupted in his face on a daily basis. Yeah, that wouldn't be good for the kid too, or me. So there was thing after thing after thing after thing that he and I both hit. And every time I had to make the decision of, I love him and I can see what we can be. And I also have to let what needs to happen, AKA let him show up the way he's going to show up. And I get to decide what I get to decide. And I also get to decide how I show up. So he did a lot in 2 years. He kicked alcohol. He stopped vaping. Alcohol was numbing his pain. It was also killing his neurology. It was also completely disconnecting him from his soul. The eyes changed. His eyes would turn black. He stopped vaping. Anything dealing with smoking or vaping. First, he stopped smoking. Then he stopped vaping. Anything dealing with smoking or the oral thing, that's the inability to speak your truth. So he learned in a loving way how to speak his truth while holding space for me. That is hard for masculine, because from what I understand is the masculine wants to fix and the feminine needs to connect. Fixing and connecting aren't the same. So there is like compromise here for the feminine and the masculine, and we both have both. We all have feminine and masculine, and it's learning to navigate that while doing the healing. So this was kind of all over the world, and there were, he went through the same training I went through. He did holotropic. Here's what I did that he didn't. I did ayahuasca combo, several plant medicines. What else did I do? Sananga, Hape, Reiki, all these things, all these energetic things. The real magic happens when you make the conscious decision to do it differently, when your body is screaming to do it the same way you're used to. Running or avoiding. It's like being present through plastic surgery. Totally different fucking game. And it totally paid off. And that's how people get closer and deeper, is in those moments when, hey, we could split or we could decide to ride this out. What are we going to do? Those are the moments that make unbreakable couples. And we have probably done that, 20 times. Now, look, divorce used to be used as a hurtful technique. And finally that came off the table. Like, you name it, it's probably, like, at some point, whether it's name calling, threats, intentional hurting, gaslighting, coercion, whatever it is, the most powerful thing you can do is decide to let the other person show up exactly how they're going to show up, because they are very capable. I don't care what they're diagnosed with. I don't care what their symptoms are. I don't care what their story is. They are capable. They are powerful human beings. Let them show up. Mel Robbins has a podcast or a saying called "Let Them." Let them show up the way they're going to show up. And what you get to do is you get to take note, and you get to make decisions for yourself and decide how you're going to show up. And at what point do you stop showing up and make the hard decision? That is the most empowering thing that man has taught me. And I would have never gotten here had we both not gone through the personal hells that we thought we left behind in childhood. And don't get me wrong, it is beautiful. If there's a twin flame, he is it for me. Because hell was hell and heaven is heaven. And I don't want to have a foot in mouth moment, but like, I'm pretty sure we turned that corner, because it's really good. Like, there's not that emotional longing. It's nothing like I thought it would be on this side. He's just so stinking adorable. And we can have an argument or a disagreement without it hitting the roof. Like prior, a small disagreement would end in explosion. There was no like, hey, I didn't see it that way, period. Any small disagreement would just be the end of peace. And that's from toxic codependency, which we both came from. His was externalized with big shows of anger, and mine was internalized by, how can I control this and make this better? What can I absorb? What can I do to fix him? Versus, what the fuck's the best for me right now? And he's freaking capable. I promise you. Every human is capable. Well, that's my model of the world, okay? This is my opinion. I look at everyone as if they're capable. I am not a medical doctor. I am a doctor of chiropractic who has seen a lot of this stuff play out in bodies, in relationships. People are capable. That is my opinion, and that is who I will surround myself with. I don't care the diagnosis. This man had, supposedly there's no cure for intermittent explosive disorder. He has not done it since he's done his holotrophic breath work. I forgot the things that he's done that I haven't. Holotrophic breath work. The major change for him is when he met with a group of men very in tune with their divine masculine, who kindly held his feet to the fire in a masculine way. Men and women need different things. I strongly believe that. He does too. He works with the men. I work with the women. So, hoping this video is okay with you, babe, because, well, here it is. So, take a view before I take it down if I have to. Love you all. By the way, relationship workshop coming soon. All right. Love you all. Have a good day.